Welcome to our session, and thank you all for making time to connect with us virtually at Rightscon online. Our heartfelt solidarity goes out to all persons who couldn't connect with us today because their governments decided to shut down the internet. Cherished audience, kindly join me to say a very big thank you to our panelists, some of whom are joining us right now at very odd hours in their respective locations to speak on this very important topic, the state of internet shutdowns in 2020. My name is Felicia Antonio, and I work at AccessNow as the Keep It On campaign lead. Keep It On is a global campaign that unites over 220 organizations around the world to end internet shutdowns globally. Unfortunately, we have an hour for this session, so please forgive me if I tend to be very miserly with time. And so I would call on my panelists to introduce themselves. Kindly let us know your name, profession, organization, country. Describe the last shutdown you lived through using one word, and tell us the secret that keeps you going during these weird times of COVID-19. I would begin with Yohannes.
Hello, everyone. My name is Yohannes Neo. I am a PhD candidate at the Faculty of Law, Monash University in Australia. I am from Ethiopia. And the last experience of shutdown was really disconnecting. In terms of these uncertain times, I passed through working on my project and chatting with my friends. Thank you.
Thank you. Khattab?
Hi, everyone. My name is Khattab Hamad. I am from Sudan. I'm a telecom engineer and a digital rights activist. I'm working in Kanar Telecom. It's an ISP in Sudan, and also I'm a member of a professional union of technology and communication in Sudan. My last internet shutdown experience was really frightening. Thank you all, and I hope this discussion will be good and helpful.
Hello, everyone. My name is Yadanar Thein, and I'm the director of the Free Expression Myanmar, and I'm from Myanmar. And I live in the major city of Myanmar, so I'm not the one who's been, physically and experiencing this, ongoing shutdown. But I co-organized and participated in the Internet Blackout Days campaign to stand in the solidarity with the people in the affected areas. So my one day without the internet in this kind of digital age is destructive. And when it's come to the COVID-19 time, the faith in the humanity keeps me going. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Damar.
Okay, my name is Damar Juniarto. I'm Executive Director at SAFEnet. SAFEnet is a regional organization of digital defenders who works mainly in Southeast Asia countries. I'm from Indonesia, based in Jakarta. My last internet shutdown experience was in one single word, uncertain. So the same word I will use to describe the time of COVID-19 in Indonesia right now. And what keeps me going on in this time of COVID-19 is my small family. We are having fun at home. Thank you.
Thank you. And then Radhika.
Hi, everyone. My name is Radhika, and I'm a counsel with Software Freedom Law Center, which is based out of Delhi, India. So as you know, that India is a large country with more than 29 states. So internet shutdowns are very hyper local, and they happen in certain parts of the country. I was part of one internet shutdown in December for a couple of hours, and I live in the capital city of Delhi, where nobody thought that the internet could ever be shut down. But it was, and the experience was very surreal. The thing that keeps me going in these uncertain times is the faith in democracy, that at the end of the day, democracy is going to withstand all that we're going through. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So, it's good to see that we all have things that are keeping us going. And yes, the internet plays a very important role here. So let's just dive into the conversation right away. And I would start with Yohannes again. We do see that internet shutdowns keep happening over and over again in Ethiopia. Could you let us know what's happening? And could you also let us have a bit of some context with regards to what's lacking in our understanding of the internet shutdowns in Ethiopia?
Thank you, Felicia. Yes, it's true. The internet shutdown is happening time and again in Ethiopia. It's because this is related with something, the growing pace of internet penetration. Indeed, in the past few years, the internet penetration rate was between 10% up to 15%, but now the internet penetration rate is growing around 23%. And with this low penetration, the internet has been manipulated and abused by users. That's why the government shuts down the internet. The first instance would be there is a mass mobilization on the internet. Protesters in various times organize themselves online and also exchange a lot of information through online. So the government wants to control the narrative by shutting down the internet. And the other instance would be there is an ethnic polarization in a country like Ethiopia, where everything is organized on ethnicity. The social media is also highly polarized, so that the users just propagate and advance their views and also disseminate in the echo chambers, so that this polarization triggers the government to shut down the internet. The other one is there is also a growing dependence on second-hand use of Facebook. In Ethiopia, there are around 8 million Facebook subscribers, and also there are more than that figure that could use second-hand information. So this second-hand information could enable them to use misinformation and also to instigate violence and also hate speech. That's why the government, in many instances, shutting down the internet and wants to control the narrative by temporarily shutting down the internet. Having said this, to see the broader context in detail, recently Ethiopia has imposed the internet shutdown following the killing of famous artist named Hachalu Hundessa. Following his death, there was a growing violence and civilian attacks. According to human rights reports, there was also attacks based on ethnicity and religion. So the government imposed a complete shutdown for 3 weeks' time, but now it's restored. This is because something to do with the national security. Indeed, although the measure is necessary, but according to the accepted norms of international human rights law, the measure is not legal because it's not based on laws, and also the measure taken, indeed, even though it could be necessary, but it doesn't be based on laws, and it's not also transparent. The other context related with national security was last year there was a high-profile assassination in Amhara region. In that occasion as well, the government shutting down the internet for the sake of national security, and also other justifications were given by the government, such as to stop students from exam cheating. And also last year on December, there was a brief internet shutdown to block cyber attacks by unknown hacktivists. So all these things led our internet shutdown saga a bit problematic, as well as it's not governed and based on rules. Indeed, we don't have any legal framework that discourage the internet shutdown. However, the government, especially the Attorney General, using its advisory council, has now developed kind of draft law under the Computer Crimes Proclamation that discourage internet shutdown, but such law is not enacted yet. And the other thing is there is also a kind of flawed narrative in the country that even during shutdowns and after shutdowns, the perception of the public is a bit flawed, especially when it comes to whether shutdown is necessary. The recent poll run by EthioTube found that more than 80% people support the shutdown measure, so that there is a perception that internet is something a luxury, but in times like this, when COVID come into, the internet is not luxury, it's indeed necessary. So such kind of perception should be changed as well. In terms of strategies to survive the internet shutdown, I have been working in researches as well as in civil society organizations. We have organized the Ethiopian digital rights version named Network for Digital Rights, and we wrote position papers as well as concept notes to fight internet shutdowns. And also we were attempting to start strategic litigation, but due to legal and practical problems, we were unable to start internet shutdown litigation at this time, but hopefully we will continue litigating internet shutdown as well. I will come back on the Q&A. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yohannes, for the detailed contextual background and also making it obvious that these recurrent internet shutdowns do not really resolve the root cause of problems or crisis in Ethiopia. Thank you so much. So let's move to Khattab, who is from Sudan. And so, Khattab, tell us, you were able to bring down a 30-year-old dictatorship without the internet. How did that happen? And what was the role of the internet shutdown? And for those that had few connections in the country, how did that amplify voices in Sudan? You have 3 minutes, please.
Okay. Thank you, Felicia. Actually, we succeeded in brought down the government after a peaceful protest for more than 4 months since December 2018 until April 2019. Since December 2018, the government blocked social media accessibility, and we broke that by using VPN until 11 April 2019. After that, we take trust in the new government, and we continue to use the internet properly. The people in Sudan made sit-in and made civil disobedience, and until the 3rd of June 2019, that day, which called the Khartoum sit-in massacre, where the military killed people there and raped girls, and after that they shut down the internet to avoid providing the evidences to the people outside Sudan and the international community. So we, as a professional union of technology and communication and other social media activists and other human rights activists, we broke this jail, we broke this process from the military council by using SMS. We sent almost more than 1 million SMS via bulk SMS server outside Sudan, and we also used roaming internet via data SIM cards that we brought from outside Sudan. And actually, we tried to install a VSAT station to provide internet with the high speed, but actually that was very difficult due to difficulty on entering the devices to Sudan at that time, and also due to the high cost of that.
Okay, thank you. And just a follow-up question. Do you think that this current administration is likely to shut down the internet in case of civil unrest? Or what trends are you noticing in Sudan with regards to the internet?
All right. Actually, the new administration, they did it. They shut down the internet for 2 days last May 2020 during the pandemic in eastern region in Kassala state due to tribal conflict between tribes. So I think the new government, the civil side, the civilian side of the government has a chance to enhance its reputation by providing new laws that criminalizing internet shutdown. But until now, the power on ICT and telecom field in Sudan is under the military. So I think if there any problem, they will make it again, because they made it before just 2 months.
Yeah, that's what makes internet shutdown scary, because once a government decides to use it, they tend to repeat it. And so, yeah, we'll keep the fight on and call on governments to keep it on at all times, because we've seen the importance of the internet, especially during this global pandemic. So, with that being said, let's hear from Damar, who is from Indonesia. You were able to win against an internet shutdown. You were able to get the courts to rule and condemn internet shutdowns. Could you kindly take us back? What really happened in Indonesia? Why was the internet shut down in Papua and West Papua? And tell us a bit about the law case and how it went. I know these are a lot of questions, but please bear with me. You have 5 minutes. Thank you.
So, the internet shutdown in Indonesia began on 18th of August 2019. So at the time, there was a peaceful demonstration due to the protest of racism experienced by Papuan students in Surabaya and Malang in 16th of August 2019, where the army officers mocking the Papua student as monkey. So this racism became a very big issue. So let me remind you that Papua, the eastern part of Indonesia, has long been a conflict area in Indonesia. And the government usually use security approaches to control the region. But now they are also using technological operation to curb freedom of expression and also freedom to assembly through bandwidth throttling and internet shutdown. So total time, 78 hours of bandwidth throttling in the beginning, and then followed by 338 hours, almost 3 months of internet shutdown in 2 provinces in Papua and West Papua in 2019. So also for your information, this case is not the first time happened in Indonesia. So the first time, the previous case had occurred during the riots after the election in May 2019. So the government ordered the ISP to slowing down images and also videos in instant messaging like WhatsApp and also social media, so they cannot send anything through the social media. So this is becoming our effort along with the other CSOs from Press Freedom Team. We are the plaintiff and also Alliance Journalists of Independence also joining to sue the government. So we bring this internet shutdown to the court in November 2019. And finally, we won in June the 3rd in 2020. So the judge of administrative court in Jakarta has a final decision that the internet shutdown was an act of unlawful action. So this is very important and very cheering up our effort. So this court judgment can be a good precedent for respecting rights of to information both online and offline, especially in Indonesia. And what we had as the winning the winning factor is actually the consolidation between the CSOs and also the willing to use the law we bring to the courts to challenge the decision from the government. So from the legal perspective, the internet shutdown practice are against the law and therefore no legal basis to be implemented again by the government. From justice perspective, the people of Papua who suffer from the internet shutdown practice in 2019 could make compensation claims. And from solidarity perspective, we see that the result from Indonesia court against internet shutdown in Papua and West Papua received a strong response from the people of Papua, and also our colleagues and in Myanmar civil society to pressure the Myanmar government to stop internet shutdown in Rakhine and Chin areas.
Thank you so much for that heartwarming intervention. And we've seen similar rulings this year in Togo, where the ECOWAS court ruled that the internet shutdown that was ordered by the government in 2017 was illegal and violated the rights of citizens. And this is really important to see that the courts are recognizing the impact of internet shutdowns on human rights and as setting these precedents so that governments would kind of stop shutting down the internet. I think now I would call on Yin to talk to us about the internet shutdown that is happening in some parts of Myanmar, which has lasted over a year now. With elections coming up in November this year, do you think that the government is likely to tamper with the internet in the whole country? Or what trends are you seeing as activists for digital rights in Myanmar?
Yeah, thank you, Felicia's. Yes, mobile data shutdown has been studied since 2019, last year, 21st June, in the western part of Myanmar, which is affecting 1.4 million of people. So yes, like you mentioned, like Felicia mentioned, it is over a year now, which is the more longest, internet shutdown. The western part of Myanmar is also the conflict area. So the government and also the military learned from the previous global response to Rohingya by stopping all information flow in the next, armed conflict, which is against Rakhine and other indigenous people there. In Western Myanmar, the government control all information sources via TV and radio. And they have blocked, internet access because they cannot control information online. The government has recently realized that, some few media outlets have adapted to the shutdown, and they are bringing out the information to the rest of Myanmar by using, traditional means. So in the response, the government has, publish a directive, those few media websites to be blocked by the telecoms companies so that nobody can read their website, their news. Government excuse of the internet shutdown is, they said, because of the national security, because, given the fact that conflict is, happening there. And the other is because of the religious hate speech and fake news. And like my colleague that Yohannes, mentioned, the majority of Myanmar people support the government directive of the internet shutdown, which is really, unfortunate and saddening to see. And we are concerned about the lack of accurate information on COVID-19. But the shutdown area, they have no access to COVID-19 information, except from the government ran TV and radio. As Felicia mentioned in the question, yes, we have a general election in coming November this year. So in the western part of Myanmar, 1.4 million of people will have to go to the polls without, any internet access. So the only information, about the party they can get is from the government-run media, TV, and radio. So is that free and fair? Is that really free and fair election? But also, what about the rest of the population? Government is acting like, on the public's behalf in the conflict area. So, but the public don't know what government is doing exactly there. Are they going to vote on the basis of the lack of information, voting with a blindfold? The internet shutdown will be remained based on the given fact of ongoing conflict in those regions. So, and we assume and we think like that internet shutdown will be remained. Maybe not during the election, maybe not to the whole part of Myanmar, but exactly to that conflict area. But of course, given we have already experienced one internet shutdown in some part of Myanmar, which means the government can do any shutdown in any part of Myanmar. And when it's come to the law and policy, telecoms company and also other like even like human rights organization as will not go to the court because we are very clear that we cannot expect any solution from the court because like the section 77 of Myanmar telecommunication law give the full power to the government to control the telecoms services. So judiciary don't have any constitutional approach, and they have a very typical military approach instead. And their role is to enforce the government's demands and orders. The law is whatever the government sets. So the constitution is just a toothless piece of paper, as a smoke screen. Thank you, and then I will get back, with the question and answer time.
Thank you so much for your submission, and it's really sad to see that these justifications for internet shutdowns, like to ensure national security or to restore peace and order, do not usually have never even proven to be successful in any of these countries. And so you touched briefly on how internet shutdowns or the current shutdown in Rakhine and Chinese states are affecting people's daily lives. Radhika, let me move to you now. India is synonymous to internet shutdowns, and there is an ongoing internet shutdown in Jammu and Kashmir right now, which is almost, I think that will also be a year in August. So can you let us know how is this shutdown impacting the daily lives of the Indian people? How is it affecting them, their human rights, or just their daily activities? Thank you.
Hey, thanks for the question, Felicia. Very important question. So India is, as I mentioned it before, that India is a huge country. We have so many states, and these shutdowns are very hyper local. So they might shut down, the internet in one district rather than the entire region. But like the internet shutdown in Jammu and Kashmir, the one that happened on August 4th last year, and which had like a complete complete internet blackout till I think 25th of January of this year. So that's over 200 days. And then they slowly started restoring 2G, and then to verified users only for certain websites, and then they were then the 2G was restored for non-whitelisted websites. But like Jammu and Kashmir is the main region where there's major internet shutdown that's happening, and especially during a pandemic. Even after restoring 2G, internet has been shut down, I think, more than 35 times in since I think 25th January, which is frankly a horrifying number. So this happens in like small districts, and the pandemic has forced all of us to work online. Offices did not work for 2 months, everything had moved online, students' education, healthcare schemes, everything, telemedicine. You're not suggested to go to hospitals, but you're suggested to, consult doctors online. And with the 2G internet speed, that's not possible. And like, of course, with all the frequent shutdowns. But apart from Jammu and Kashmir, there has been other shutdowns in other areas as well. For example, in there's a city in one of the largest states in India called Calcutta. Near that, there's a district in Hooghly. So internet was shut down for 6 days in, I think, towards the end of May. And during the shutdown, so we spoke to people and we realized that people have they don't have a livelihood anymore. A lot of people, most of us work online. They don't have access to telemedicine. Their source of information is blocked. And the most popular reason that is given about the shutdown is, that we're trying to control fake news. We're trying to stop the spread of WhatsApp rumors and lynchings, and to stop communal violence. And unfortunately, if you really look into it, internet shutdown doesn't really stop any of that. Yeah. So these are things that really end up having a huge impact on the rights of people. Like, I'm trying not to go into the legality of that, because again, that's a whole other conversation. But I would be happy to answer any questions that people have about the legalities, and how an internet shutdown is imposed, and what the judiciary in India is doing about it. But yeah, it's a terrible situation. Yeah.
Yes, it's a terrible situation. I love your conclusion. I think we are doing very well with time. And so let me open up the discussion to take some questions, and then let's interact with our audience. So I think we have some questions in this document. Okay. So there's a question for you, Radhika. Yes, let me start with Radhika. Can you please talk about the ongoing court case in India?
Right. So there, as I said, the shutdowns are hyper-local, and almost every state in India has the High Court, and on the top of it, there's a Supreme Court. So after when the shutdown in Kashmir was imposed, there was a petition filed by a very famous newspaper editor, Anuradha Basin, along with leaders from Jammu and Kashmir and other people. So there was a judgment that came out on 10th January 2020, where the court, in a very positive judgment, said that internet shutdowns cannot be arbitrary. They have to be necessary and proportional. They also talked about the legal mechanisms that are to be used. So they also said that you should, like, the orders. So the orders and the rules should be revisited every 2 weeks, and that has happened. Like, there have been a number of orders that are uploaded on the website. So there was another petition which was recently filed by a organization called Foundation for Media Professionals, which said that you have to revisit blocking 2G, and because it's a pandemic and it's really harmful, especially towards students and working professionals. And the court ordered the constitution of a special committee that would look into restoring internet, at least on a district-wise level. So not have like a blanket shutdown for the entire state, but restore it at least in some parts of the region. So the special committee did not, there was no public news of what the special committee is doing. So there was the contempt petition that was filed, and there's a hearing of the contempt petition tomorrow. So that's one case. We have an ongoing case which my organization and we worked on in the against the 6-day ban in the Hooghly district in Calcutta. There is hearing going on. We're arguing that the authority that imposed the internet shutdown did not have the necessary jurisdiction for it. So that's another case that's happening. But there was also, so the state of Kerala, which is one of the progressive states in the country, ruled, I think last year, in which SFLC were impeders. I would love to send you certain links to anybody who would like to read about it. It ruled that right to internet and education access is the fundamental right. Apart from that, the shutdown that happened in the capital city of Delhi on December, I think, 19, the petition, again, we filed a petition in the court, but it was dismissed, saying that, like that there are orders. We asked that, you have to produce an order, you have to show us that, why was an internet shutdown imposed, and there was no due authority to do that. But so that's been the status of like court cases in India. Right now, there are only 2 cases going on, one in Calcutta High Court and one in the Supreme Court of India.
Okay. Thank you so much for the, so many questions. Okay. Does internet shutdown affect free internet program by Facebook and others? Okay, Khattab, you would like to take this one?
Right, yes. Actually, the internet shutdown, the last internet shutdown in Sudan at 2019, it continued for 37 days. So the shutdown, to shut down the internet this time, the authority disabled the access point name, or as known as APN, in the mobile data network. Using this method, users can't see the data sign on their phone screens. So by this way, you can't even access any website or can't ping any IP. So yes, it affected the free Facebook service.
Okay, thank you. And we do know that when there is a complete internet shutdown, there's no way to access any of these platforms. All right, Yohannes, we have seen the court rule in favor of digital rights and condemning internet shutdowns in Indonesia, in Asia, Indonesia, and then in Togo, with several internet shutdowns happening in Ethiopia. Do you think we should take the Ethiopian government to court for shutting down the internet? And is this a reality? How do you think this will work out?
Thank you for this tough question. Indeed, there were attempts to start strategic litigation back home, but given there are some procedural and legal irregularities, it was impossible, because you need to have kind of direct standing in civil procedure law. Whenever you want to lodge a claim, you have to show a locus standi. When it comes to public interest litigation, you have to show this pursuant to Article 37 of the Constitution. So when civil societies come as having a direct loss of income or something as a result of shutdown, when they prove that, they can lodge a claim before a court of law. Otherwise, after exhausting local remedies, we can also start litigation before the African Commission on Human and People's Rights and also the African Court on Human and People's Rights. So there is a possibility based on Article 29 of the Constitution, as well as there is a draft computer crimes proclamation, which will be soon ratified. Based on that provision, we can challenge the illegality of the past internet shutdowns.
Thank you so much. And yes, we would resort to the use of the courts to fight internet shutdowns. around the world. Radhika, no, sorry. Are there any similar socio-political or socio-economic patterns that countries that have experienced internet shutdowns can advise us to look out for?
Could you repeat the question?
Are there any similar socio-political or socio-economic patterns that countries that have experienced internet shutdowns can advise us to look out for?
So there are a number of reports, some I think done by Brookings India, by ICRIA, and one report that we'd also published, which talk about the impact, like in like, because the economic argument that how much money that we're losing per day. Even top 10 VPN did a report on the financial loss that is caused by an internet shutdown. They had put together, and I think that's an argument that resonates with the governments the most, because they're losing money, because of course money is more important than human rights. And from the example that I can take from Kashmir has lost a lot of Kashmiri students have lost a lot of educational opportunities. They've lost scholarships. People have lost money. I think there are these patterns that you see. There are these there are a lot of examples that you learn from other countries about what a shutdown can really do. And again, even if we for 1 minute, even if we consider the argument about misinformation and rumors, the balancing act is not very good here. So it's extremely disproportionate, and we always have to in every situation we have to have a balance. I hope I answered that question.
Yeah, and just to add up, we've seen that internet shutdowns, for instance, right now we are experiencing a global pandemic, and shutting down the internet means denying people access to information, which is going to threaten their lives as well. And then also, I think that internet shutdowns impact all aspects of people's lives. So if you need more information with regards to the impacts of internet shutdowns, I would recommend the 2019 Keep It On reports on internet shutdowns, as well as we just launched a podcast series on the impact of internet shutdowns and other digital rights related issues around the globe. So I would share the relevant links with those who are interested in accessing these documents.
Just one more point, Felicia, sorry. So, one thing that we have noticed that an internet shutdown ends up creating more panic, because again, you're not able to contact people. You're not for even women's safety, a lot of us send our live locations to our family, to our friends, to make sure that, if you're coming back late at night, or if there is something. And internet shutdowns just end up creating so much panic, because again, when you're not able to verify a news. So tomorrow if you hear that something unsavory is happening in an area, and you feel that a family or a friend is stuck there, and you're not able to verify it over the internet, because that's the first thing that you do, and it just ends up creating so much panic. And that's something that we have to be extremely careful about, that internet shutdowns do create panic.
I agree. All right, Yin, this for you. Can you talk more about what you know about the impact of internet shutdowns on human rights, COVID, and other health information? And how are you able to get that information given both shutdown and travel restrictions? I think we've briefly touched on this issue with regards to the impact of internet shutdowns. So Yin, do you want to add on to that? Otherwise, we can skip this question. I think it's been answered.
Yeah, I will give a few more additions. Yes, in these days, every human rights it's really linked to internet because, because obviously this is digital age. So yes, not only this, health, the right to health, but also the other, rights are also, being affected, because of the internet. One micro example I can give it, like for example, under the COVID-19, because of the restriction and because of physical restriction, this is why students are supposed to learn online, but because of the internet shutdown in Rakhine, many Rakhine students has to have to go to the streets, to protect against the internet shutdown. So this is one impact, and again, of course, the other consequent impact is they being arrested and they being facing the trial under the peaceful assembly law because of the government pressure. So this is one micro example that I can give. And when it's come to the how the question how we can get the COVID-19 related information, it's highly unlikely because like I mentioned that it is we can only the people in that affected area can have only the government-run media, and they cannot have the accurate and timely and freshing information about the COVID-19. And not only that, they are now they have to run and escape from their village because of the conflict, ethnic armed conflict. This is why it is really highly unlikely that government can manage to give accurate and timely information about the COVID-19 to them.
Okay, thanks for the addition. Okay, so we have less than 20 minutes. The next question for Radhika again. Why is there no mention of the 2019 internet shutdowns in Manipur and Northeast India?
Hi. So we maintain a shutdowns tracker at www.internetshutdowns.in. You'll find all the internet shutdowns listed there. But the reason why I focused more on Jammu Kashmir and not on other areas is because Jammu Kashmir as an entire region was shut down, and it's a huge part. And the shutdowns in Manipur and Assam were more hyperlocal, but we have recorded all of them. And there is a lot of resource material available on the website. So you can go have a look at that. And in case there are any particular things that you would like to know about these shutdowns, or especially about the Assam High Court's ruling about, about how they ordered the government to restore internet right then and there, and why these shutdowns happen, I'm happy to answer that question.
Okay, thank you. So the relevant information will be provided for all interested participants to access. As a high school educator, how do you think high school students from the US can advocate? I will just quickly respond to this one. First of all, they should join the fight against internet shutdowns by following what the Keep It On Coalition has been working on across the globe, and to support the campaign to raise awareness about the impact of these shutdowns. Yes, that is what I would say for now. And we'll share more information about how to join the Keep It On campaign. So since they are students, they can support in raising awareness about these internet shutdowns happening around the globe, and how people, why there is a need for each and every one of us to join this fight to end this act of repression in the various countries that tend to shut down the internet. There's a question for Khattab. You mentioned that the military shut down the internet in Sudan recently. How long was the internet shut down? Did the civilian part of the government challenge that decision? And were there protests against the decision on the streets? And do you have any good reference regarding this?
Okay. Yes, the military shut down the internet in Sudan recently in the eastern region in Kassala state due to, as I mentioned, due to tribal conflict. The internet shutdown period was just for 2 days, and actually the civilian part of the government they didn't challenge that decision because they don't have the authority on the ICT field until now. The TPRA, the Telecom and Post Regulatory Authority, is related to military until now. I think we should advocate this one. We should advocate to make the ICT and telecom to be a part of the civilian part of the government challenge. About the protest against the decision on street. No, actually, our union, the Professional Union of Technology and Communication, we declared a statement that we fighting on this, and also there is a group called SICTA. It's a consultancy group of ICT experts in US. They are Sudanese. They also declared a statement. They sent it to the government that the internet is a human right. The internet is a source of information. The internet is a source of income also, and it's affecting the economy. So yes, I have a reference or a report to read on this matter. I'm a writer on Global Voices. You can search on Sudan, on internet shutdown in Sudan. You can find a lot of information there.
Okay, thank you, Khattab, for responding to that. We do not have much time to take all the questions that we received, but I would say that let's take one more. And this goes to, just let me know which of you would want to answer that question. How do you address censorship and internet shutdown in the MENA region, especially Yemen, where the internet is monopolized by the governments and people in power, in a humanitarian journalism scenario? Yeah, who would like to take this one? Please let me know. Okay. Okay, I would say that in addressing censorship and internet shutdowns in countries where the telecom or the internet is monopolized, I think Ethiopia is one country, and we are happy to hear that it's now working towards liberating the internet space in Ethiopia. And then once there is just a monopolized internet provider in a country, it gives the government the power to control. But that is not to say that in countries where we have even international internet service providers working in those countries, there is always an order from governments, and these companies are not able to resist. This is because of fear of losing their license to operate in that particular country. And then for that reason, they tend to implement these shutdowns that go long way to violate the rights of their their clients who pay and to subscribe to their services. And so I would say that it is not just about having a monopolized internet, but it's about the willpower of a government to ensure that each and every citizen in a country is able to access the internet and other digital tools to be able to empower themselves in one way or the other. I hope I answered your question. And so I'm going back to my panelists. We're about to close the session. I want you to give your concluding remarks and to end with 2 concrete recommendations you think we should leave this session with to keep on fighting against internet shutdowns wherever we find ourselves. I would start with Damar.
Thank you. Yeah, recently we just released SAFEnet 2020 report for Indonesia. It's called At the Brink of Digital Authoritarianism. So my recommendation on this report is we underlining the fighting back the digital authoritarianism in the form of internet shutdown by the government with strategic litigation. The strategic litigation is very important to send the message that we are not sit still seeing the shutdown. In Indonesia, of course, we use online petition to condemn the shutdown. We are sending summation letter to object the shutdown, and also we protesting nationally about the shutdown on the street. But it is not enough. So doing strategic litigation is very important to protect our digital rights, including the rights to access information and also for democracy. And with this recommendation, I believe we can push back the digital authoritarianism on the Southeast Asia countries as well. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Khattab. Yin, can we have your concluding remarks and 2 recommendations, at least 2 recommendations you want to conclude with? Thanks.
Yes. In Myanmar case, we have done, and also we are still doing the, on public statement, open letters, and also like domestic and international advocacy on the internet shutdown. Of course, which means the government knows, but they don't do anything. So my recommendation is the public needs to end our state councillor Daw Aung San Suu Kyi's Stockholm syndrome. Her strategy for pleasing the military has failed totally. They have not compromised, but instead conflict has increased. So she needs to launch a bold new version and replace her cabinet with new vices and new idea. And my second recommendation for ourselves, human rights advocate, human rights activists, we should keep advocating that national security, which is the government reason for the internet shutdown, it doesn't mean that the government security or military security and amplification for people should not be manipulated. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Radhika. Sorry, Yin. Khattab, can you give us your concluding remarks and recommendations we should leave here with?
Okay. I think launching a campaign to add a clause to the fundamental rights law at each country that guarantees the internet neutrality will be a good idea. And my second recommendation that recognize the internet as a human right and criminalizing the internet shutdown, because internet is a source of information and a source of income that I mentioned before. And I think creating an international court like the International Criminal Court, the ICC, to judge the responsible people of the internet shutdown. I think this step will make the internet shutdown decision is a hard decision. Back to you, Felicia.
Okay, thank you. Yohannes?
Thank you, Felicia. My concluding remark is aware of the impact of shutdowns on human rights and the economy. The government should end the practice of internet shutdown, and also this internet shutdown is a temporary measure, so that the government should engage with the big elephant in the room, that is the tribal and ethnic form of federalism, and the government should engage all stakeholders, and part of that, many of the problems are the symptoms of our ethnic-based politics. So the internet shutdown will be ended if the government engage with the big elephant in the room. And the other one is the non-state actors, especially social media companies, should work to depolarize the internet by making effective content moderation and fact-checking. In this regard, Facebook and other social media companies should take a lead in doing these non-punitive measures. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And last but not the least, Radhika, can we have your concluding remarks and recommendations?
Yeah, hi. So internet shutdowns, they are really evil. But as the trend that we see in India is that people don't really understand, what's wrong with an internet shutdown. For them, it's a very casual thing that, oh, we're just stopping misinformation, we're stopping rumors. And that's a belief that's quite rampant. I think it might be just because, the level of education is not so much. So my recommendation is that, or everybody should record these internet shutdowns, record the impact, record your voices, tell us why do you think an internet shutdown is problematic. Read up more. I would recommend reading a lot of reports and studies on internet shutdowns to understand the impact. My second recommendation would be to aggressively litigate against these shutdowns. This is especially to people who can, litigators, digital rights litigators, to aggressively attack all of these shutdowns and file petitions in courts, establish that we have a free, that it's a basic fundamental right to have free speech and expression in the country.
Thank you so much for these recommendations. And to conclude, we have all mentioned the importance of advocacy, collaboration. And so in my concluding remarks, I would like to urge each and every one of us who is yet to join the Keep It On campaign against internet shutdown to do so. If you are a civil society organization, and as an individual, you can also visit our website and report incidents of internet shutdowns via shutdownsalerts@accessnow.org. And our website is www.accessnow.org if you want to join the Keep It On campaign. And then, as I said in my opening remarks or in my submission, we just launched a new podcast on the impact of internet shutdowns around the world. The first episode is out. It's called Kill Switch. Kindly find it. I've dropped the links in a document which will be shared with everyone. And listen if you want to understand and join the fight against internet shutdowns around the world. We do also have our Shutdowns Stories project, where we curate stories of impact of internet shutdowns on people's lives. And so feel free to share your stories with us. So we use that for advocacy to stop the fight to end internet shutdowns around the globe. Thank you very much and enjoy the remaining sessions and for the day and for the week. Bye for now.